We've been here before, fighting the problems that fight back, because we see opportunities where others see obstacles. We're change makers and problem solvers, uniting over 1 million minds to address complex issues facing communities around the world, including yours. We're working together as partners and professionals, while making friendships that last a lifetime. We're Rotary, and there's no limit to what we can do.
That's a great list. We're really all of that and more. Trouble is, we don't do a good job of letting the greater community know those things about us. So Presidents Jeff, John, and Mike, through our strategic planning efforts, have made telling our story a priority going forward. That has to continue if we're to attract and retain diverse, talented, and committed members. That said, thank you for joining us today. You're welcome here anytime. We've got a terrific program in store, so let's get started. We'll have the invocation by Tom Luckett, the four-way test and pledge from Corey Nickerson, and visitor introductions by Barney James.
Thank you, Hannibal. Let us pray. Gracious, loving, and ever-faithful God, thank you for equipping us with the capacity to teach, to nurture, and to provide guidance to others in ways that we could never measure. We thank you for all that calls us in Rotary to be more than we believe ourselves to be, for the skills that surface when life requires it. We ask this day for your comforting spirit to rest upon those who are experiencing fragile moments, those who are isolated by illness or sorrow, and those who are going through unanticipated change. We pray for the world's people and for the long-term recovery efforts in places that have experienced natural disasters and extreme weather. We ask that the Winter Olympics will be safe for all involved and be a step toward peace in that region. We pray for the men and women in our armed forces. May they know the assurance of your presence. We pray for their families who await their return. Be with those who find themselves trapped by violence, those near and far away. May our heartfelt concern open doors and let your love flow into the lives of others. Help us as Rotarians know how we can be supportive of the community policing efforts Police Chief Jordan and his team are presenting today. May we thank you each day for your presence, your guidance, and your gift to us of life itself. Amen.
Now, the memo I got said I was supposed to lead a song today. I just heard Hannibal say I was supposed to do something with a four-way test. So, how many of you do not know the four-way test? Okay, it's up here on the wall. Okay, let's sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to Club 2500, District 6110, the Rotary Club of Tulsa, home of some of the greatest Rotarians in the world. I'd like to introduce our guest. Please rise with your Rotarian that invited you, and we'll hold our applause until everyone's been introduced. Greg Keck invited Mike Tidwell with Southern Sheet Metal. Where's Greg? They're here somewhere. I don't see them. But Jerry Dillon has invited Cullen Kroger with Littlefield. Thank you. Chuck Wilson has with him Ron Edmonds. Good to see you, Ron. Paula Wood invited Kate Tillotson with the mayor's office. Thank you for coming. John Crouch invited Ben Godwell. I said that wrong. Dodwell. It's very clearly written, and I can't read. Dodwell. Stephanie Cameron has Daniel Reagan with the Price Properties. Former Rotarian Kent Shacklet came today. There's Kent. And Kevin Murray, former member, is here also. Let's have a round of applause for all of them. Visiting Rotarians from the Sunrise Club, VJ Lively. From the Sand Springs Club, Shannon Ketcher. Sean? I knew I was going to do it. My apologies. From Bixby, Jack Maxwell. Jack. And from Southside, John Haley. Thank you for coming. You're always welcome.
Thank you, Tom, Corey, and Barney. Welcome, visitors. We hope that you feel right at home among us, maybe so much so that you want to make this permanent, that you want to join us. This is a great place to connect with and work alongside our best and our brightest. Here at the Rotary Club of Tulsa, you'll make lifelong friends while serving your community. Thank you to this week's meeting sponsors whose sponsorship helps defray the cost of our club. They are Moore's Funeral Home and Trust Company of Oklahoma. We encourage you to give your fellow Rotarians the business. I said that right, didn't I? In addition to today's sponsors, let's also thank our meeting volunteers whose service makes our meetings run smoothly each and every week. Let's give them a hand. Now let's see what our Sarge, Charles Seacrest, has in store for us today. Sarge?
Boy, you guys got me up here early today. Don't give me time to think. How you doing?
Doing well.
Wonderful.
How are you?
Good to see you.
It's good to be seen.
Good to see you all too. A little thinner than I was last week, so have Roberta to thank that for. So thank you, Roberta, the weight reduction. There we go. All right, it's Sarge time. First one up is our good friend Rob Berry. And Rob is, the $100 represents both his anniversary with his lovely wife as well as his birthday. So he wouldn't give me what the balance was there. So we're assuming an 80-20 rule? Is that? Okay, all right, we'll go with that. What's more important, though, is his ability to float in the pool. And I saw this, and I was like, is this just like a baptism that's gone bad? I don't know, but I was more worried about the youngster next to him. I'm like, who's the lifeguard here? Is that you? Anyway, well, thank you very much for the donation. Josh Hurlin. Josh, are you here? Where are you? Josh, thank you very much. Josh is one of our great troopers. He's with the, been with the Air Rangers, and it's his anniversary. 12 years ago, he was in Afghanistan, and we appreciate your service here. And his 365 is representative of his 365 days he's now been with Rotary. And so we appreciate your service. We appreciate you being in here. He said he actually was going to take it down about 10% the way the stock market was going on Monday and Tuesday. Fortunately, I watched Good Morning America. It's gone back up, so we're at the full 365. I appreciate that very much. Now, the next one just kind of came up here, so we're going to go rogue real quick. Tom Hardcastle had some pictures here that Diane shared with me. And so we wanted to come over here and get Diane and Tom's little 2 cents. And I may have to take the pictures and go real close to the camera. But tell a little bit about it.
Well, I think Tom would probably tell a better story than I would, but I spied Tom in a picture with President Reagan. Not only one, but 2 or 3 pictures. Is that right, Tom?
That's right. That's my best shot. This one is him signing someone's autograph on my back. The only kid on the planet with that picture. And that picture, I don't remember. Oh, I think you see me, there's a half a head in the back, and that's me.
The person is President Reagan.
By the way, I forgot that. I'm glad you mentioned it.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, that's my best shot.
Well, it was wonderful, and of course we get a fine out of you. Thank you very much. You are wonderful. And of course, I think somebody mentioned our lone Democrat in the building. Peter, did you say that was Reagan's birthday yesterday? Okay, I just wanted to verify that. So it's very timely that we got those pictures in. So it's very exciting, that aspect of things. So, thank you very much, Tom, for sharing. That was awesome. And finally, I did not know Mike was not going to be here. And, of course, last week he was bragging so much about the new grandbaby. And I have this friend who, well, his son's friend, who recently had a child. And I thought I would share, a very personal moment inside the delivery room. And here he is. It says, wore this during my wife's labor. She was not amused. And if you see this, he has a picture on his shirt that said, I did this to you. Better is his wife in the background really being thrilled with this. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with Mike. So anyway. All right, well, thank you very much. I am your Sarge. Keep me in mind. It's February. It's going to be a quick month. Give me a holler. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Just a few quick announcements. Rotarian Terry Heritage is in the hospital, and we wish her a speedy and full recovery. Please take a moment to sign the cards on your tables for Terry. With those of you who are traveling to Nicaragua on February 14th, please stand. Those of you who are going to Nicaragua, let's give them a round of applause. We salute your work on the water wells, and we wish you safe travels. Today's committee meetings include Foundation trustees who meet in room 233. Camp Enterprise will meet in room 234. Above and Beyond will meet in room 232, and Fireside will meet in room 231. Today's program focuses on community policing. The final report of the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing, issued in May of 2015, noted, and I quote, "Trust between law enforcement agencies and the people they protect and serve is essential in a democracy. It is key to the stability of our communities, the integrity of our criminal justice system, and the safe and effective delivery of policing services," close quote. Having worked on a number of initiatives with him, I know personally that our police chief believes in the relationship building and the trust building needed to enhance our community. Chuck Jordan, our Tulsa police chief, has over 39 years of law enforcement experience. He joined our club in February of 2012 as a Club Foundation Fellow. Chief Jordan earned his BA in criminal justice from the University of Phoenix. He received his associate's degree from Connors State College, and he also attended the University of Tulsa. Chief Jordan joined the Tulsa Police Department in 1969 and was one of the first SWAT team members in 1978. He served internationally as a regional commander of more than 1,200 officers in Kosovo. Chuck Jordan was appointed as the 39th Chief of the Tulsa Police Department by Mayor Dewey Bartlett on November 12, 2010. In this role, he directs all TPD patrol, investigative, and administrative operations. Chief Jordan is married to Judy Dunlap Jordan and has 3 adult children. Please join me in welcoming our Rotarian of the Day, Tulsa Police Chief Chuck Jordan.
First of all, I'd like you guys to stop that audible gasp when somebody says 1969 when I came on. I was 12 years old, okay? No, this is a subject that really is dear to my heart. I think as a police department, this is where my officers want to go. This is where we have to go as a community. I think they're ready for us to go there. And, you know, it sounds easy to say, well, just initiate community policing. That's a huge undertaking if you stop and think about all the components that go into community policing. And this is kind of like eating an elephant. You just got to do it one bite at a time. And I've been lucky enough to have a department, and I've got several people who are utilizing every resource possible to try to make sure we get to where we want to be in community policing. One of those people is Jonathan Brooks, who just last week got 20 years on the police department. I had an opportunity to work with John when I was here before. He was an outstanding field officer, outstanding sergeant, outstanding captain, an outstanding major, and an even better deputy chief. Our department is really in good hands right now. I've got 3 outstanding deputy chiefs again that all are completely committed to the community policing concept. So we're not there yet. I'm going to be the first to admit it, but with these folks at the helm with me, I guarantee you we will get there. So now I'd like to introduce Chief Brooks.
Thank you for that warm welcome. I truly appreciate it. I always enjoy coming here and the support this Rotary Club gives, especially on the Above and Beyond Awards. I've been here since the inception of that, I think, and been to every one of those, and we're so grateful for that to you. So with that said, I read the teaser for today, and it talked about the police shootings and becoming newsworthy and the community policing and why that's important. It's the aftermath of those shootings and everything that the communities go through and the issues that they have with the police department, right? And that disconnect that is talked about in the media. So before I really dive into community policing, I want to ask you a question, some things to think about as we move through this presentation. The first thing I want you to do is take a moment and visualize what you want your city to look like. Okay? And create that image in your mind. Okay? Do you want a city with nice parks, shopping and entertainment, good schools, neighborhoods? All those things come to your mind, I would speculate. But the one thing I will kind of think what you're thinking about is when you had that image in your mind that your city was safe, it looked safe, it felt safe, and it was safe. Is that correct? That's what we all want. In fact, leading psychologists say that's the second most important thing to humans. Behind breathing, eating, and sleeping, safety is important. So to expand on that, I want you to think again about your city and then think about what you want your police department to look like. Okay, think for a second. Okay, I have this beautiful city in my mind, and now what about my police department? A lot of people don't think about that when they're thinking about this. So you probably want the most educated officers, right? The highest trained police officers, the most progressive that's available. Is that correct? That's what we want. Well, I'm going to tell you, as I go through today, I'm going to tell you that you have a police department right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma that you can be proud of. Because as we talk about the 21st century policing, and all those things that came out of that. And there's a book on it. And all the work that this police department has done, you'll be amazed. You'll be truly amazed. So what is community policing? But before we can even talk about community policing, we have to talk about crime, right? Because the whole purpose of policing is to address crime. You don't want your police department to be soft on crime. Do you want them to be hard on crime? Can we afford that? This is where you put your trust in your police department and you work to be smart on crime. So when I say smart on crime is we come up with these solutions together, and that's the basis of community policing. So how do we actually do that? Because community policing is a philosophy. Well, first you have to have that progressive police department. You have to have an engaged community, and then you have to work together. Those are the three components of this, and that's the start of community policing. But let me give you a working definition, because from all the experts across this country, this is what they've come up with. That community policing is a strategy of police building relationships, okay, building relationships, and, that keyword and, working with members of the community to prevent crime and resolve crime. So how do you implement something so enormous of a strategy? We go back to our principles again. This is a simple visual. The organization is the police department. You have to have that. You have to have the community, and you have to have the work. So where all three intersect is where community policing exists. Now, I'm saddened to say that I had a co-presenter today, and he had to go to the emergency room this morning. Found out he had a kidney stone, so he went on home. But I would like to talk about Officer Popsy Floyd for just a few moments. For the first time, we, as the Tulsa Police Department, applied for a grant, and we were a recipient of that grant. One of only 3 cities in the country that received this grant, and it gave us the first community resource officer. Okay, because when we looked at Tulsa and we looked at troubled neighborhoods and we looked at the issues that we were facing, 61st and Peoria, that is where he's assigned to. Now, I would love for him to stand up here and tell you the stories of all the successes that he's had in building the relationships with citizens, the neighborhood groups, and the businesses in that area. And he did tell me this when I was talking to him on the phone before. He would be glad to come and talk to you again if you would allow it. So with that, so his commitment there in this area is for the next 3 years to do nothing but work in establishing those relationships and working with the groups, the Department Management Association, to prevent the crimes that we're seeing and the victimization. That's what's most important. Because when we talk about policing, we always talk about the people that we arrest. So when we looked at this area, we took a different approach. We looked at, why do we have so many victims here? Okay, let's address that. And so that's our approach right now. But back to 21st century policing, how did this all start? So in May of 2015, the president selected scholars and police leaders from all across this country to talk and come up with resolutions after the incidents that we had in the police shootings in Baltimore, in Ferguson, and a few others. And this commission met, and they had panelists. But fortunately, myself and the chief, we were invited to the White House to be a part of that. And so we had our feet in the door from the very beginning. Okay? So bring on the next phase. Mayor Bynum takes office. Mayor Bynum hears that, he knows of all these current issues and topics going on, and he wants to do something. So he establishes the Tulsa Commission on Community Policing. And what better framework than to recreate something is go back to that 21st century policing document. In that document, and I'll give you the pillars here in just a second, there are 77 recommendations that come out of that. And I want to tell you this, I don't know of another police department right now in the United States that is working as hard as we are, because we're actively working on all 77 of those recommendations. 2/3 of them we have completed. And we could say, now when I say completed, I mean we're not just going to stop on those. I say completed as we've accomplished our goal. We still have some work to do, as the chief said. There's a lot of work to do, and we'll get into that. Here are the pillars that all these experts thought was important. Building trust and legitimacy was one of the most important ones, so that's why it's the first, because studies show that a community that trusts their police are more willingly to voluntarily abide by the laws set forth. That's proven in sociology and in scientific. Police and oversight, officer wellness, technology and social media, training and education, and community policing and crime reduction. Now, there are so many components within each one of these, so I just want to give you some highlights and some of the bigger tasks that the Tulsa Police Department has taken on. And one of the biggest ones right now is recruitment. We are now in the largest hiring phase in the history of this police department. Through the Vision Tulsa Public Safety Fund, we're now have a goal of hiring 90 officers a year for the next several years. Now, currently, we have about 760 police officers. Okay, we want to be at 940. We went through an extensive staffing study to get to this number, and we made a lot of presentations as this vision funding and vote came up, and with the generosity of the citizens of Tulsa, it was approved, and so we marched forward. One of our goals in our recruitment is the diversity that we're looking for. Okay, we have significant recruiting efforts all across this United States and here in Tulsa because we want people that live here, that go to school here, that play here, to stay here and work here and make a difference. But we also see the need of expanding our diversity. And we currently have high recruiting efforts in Texas and New Mexico to recruit Hispanic and bilingual officers as part of our initiative. Also part of this is it's important to have officers integrated into the community. We have to connect with the citizens that serve and connect them with services. Sometimes they don't even know those exist. So one of the things that we did was we came up with a resource guide that we equip every officer with. But that wasn't enough because we knew we had to reach out and extend even more. So we revamped our social media platform. Now, a lot of us think, well, social media can be a waste of time and it's not useful. But I am here to tell you that as of today, we're connecting with over 10,000 citizens of Tulsa a day. 10,000, that's what our statistics show. So in the last month, we basically almost connected with every citizen of Tulsa in one mean or another, whether it was through some kind of education, through social media, or just simply answering questions. That's just one more avenue that we're exploring. This has been a popular topic around the country about citizen oversight. Okay, citizens want to become involved in their police departments. They want to become involved in the criminal justice system. So in terms of citizen oversight, I'll give you a few examples of what we've already done. Chief Jordan has a citizen advisory board. It's composed of appointed individuals, about 15, that they meet on a regular basis to discuss the high-level issues that affect the police department, such as policy-making decisions, how training is conducted, or how our hiring practices. They provide Chief Jordan with the insight that's needed from that community level. But we didn't stop there. That wasn't enough for us because we felt like that particular communities within Tulsa need more direct approach to our police department. So if you know about the police department here in Tulsa, we divide the city into 3 sections for our policing service. We have a Gilcrease division, which serves north and downtown and North Tulsa. We have Mingo Valley, which serves all of East Tulsa. And then we have a Riverside division, which serves Midtown and South. And over each one of those, we have a major. And those majors report to me. And each one of those majors has a citizen action group. Okay, those groups are composed of about 10 to 12 individuals selected from various portions of their neighborhoods and different regions of their communities. And they're there to represent the businesses, the communities, neighborhood associations, religious organizations, minority groups, and again, back to the business groups and apartment groups. So there's a well representation, and they have that direct involvement with those division commanders to solve those crimes. One thing that's very important is when our police officers are out there and they're working, we have to keep them healthy and safe as well. And so that was also a component of the 21st century policing. We were already many steps ahead of them on this area though, because we've had our own department psychologist on staff for many, many years, where the officers can seek out counseling services if they need. And if you just seen, President Trump just signed an Officer Wellness Act, a federal act. He signed it this last month. But we were ahead of that game as well because we had already started a peer program, a peer counseling program within our police department. We personally selected and identified various officers that could serve as counselors and gave them the training and to offer peer support as well. We also have chaplain services for the religious component, and we really promote the physical fitness of our officers because that leads to the overall their wellness and stress levels and maintaining that where they can be effective and efficient when they're out there on the streets. So this is the big one, body cameras. Body cameras has changed policing across this country. It has allowed people to see more about police work than ever before. No TV show could ever encompass what is on body cameras now. Basically, what body cameras done is it allows everybody to peek behind the curtain and see what's going on in police work. So I can't think of a time in the history of policing when there's been more transparency. Because when we have an event now, it's recorded. If it's not on ours, surely somebody else has the camera, right? The phones they carry around. But now our officers have that full camera running all the time. And if you've seen an officer on the street here in the last 3 weeks to a month, you'll see that they had that camera on. Every single one of our officers now that's working the street, responding to a 911 call, and wearing this uniform has a body camera on. We have over 450 of them deployed at this very moment. So that was a huge undertaking because there's a lot of work that goes into it. It took us several years to work on this body camera project. There's just so many intricate details. But finally today, we can say we have completed our first part of that and we have those in place. And that was an important part of the national movement, that police have these body cameras, and we've already met that benchmark. But just as important, though, is training for officers. Now, we all know that training is vital, but I want to just give you a few little statistics real quick. When a police officer joins our police department, they go through a 28-week academy. Okay, they're in classroom learning law, they're in a gymnasium learning tactics, and they're on the firing range, they're on the driving range. They go through almost 1,100 hours of classroom training. 1,100 hours, and they're still not done. Because then we move them to a one-on-one training environment in which they work with a field training officer, and they complete another 640 hours of training. So now we're talking about 1,700 hours of training before we will even let one of our officers take a 911 call on his own. That's monumental. That's more than 3 times the state mandated, and that's a lot more than a lot of other states have as well. So I think that at the Tulsa Police Department, we have our own academy, and we set the benchmark on training. And now more specifically, you'll see the note about implicit bias training. That was one of the recommendations that came from the commission. We've been working on that. Right now, we're in the assessment phase of that. So we've contracted with KMS Consulting, and the first thing they do is they do an assessment and a benchmarking of our department. And then the next step is next month we will begin training the trainers, because this isn't not going to be just a one-time training effort. This will be continual. So we want to keep that training going on for as long as we do our own training. All these are very important topics that we're talking about, but this is another one that's very dear to me, and we have put a lot of work in, and I think this is another area where we are actually setting the mark for a lot of other departments. They're actually calling us and asking us what we're doing here in Tulsa, Oklahoma when it comes to mental health. And let me give you just a few quick examples. Last year, we transitioned every one of our officers. There's a national standard on mental health training for officers, and then there's an advanced training. And the advanced training is called CIT. It's Crisis Intervention Training. It's a specialized officer that can go and deal with a person that's in mental health crisis. We take that training and we gave it to all of our field officers. We have over 260 to date that are trained in CIT training. So that shows the standard that we have. And our goal is to have every single officer trained in that capacity. But we didn't stop there, because we've seen a need for partnerships. And you're going to hear me say this again and again about collaboration. I think I heard it, Hannibal, when you took that word collaboration. We cannot do it alone. So much of the burden of mental health has been put on the police departments across this country. And we have established a relationship with every single hospital in this city, and that still wasn't enough. So what we've done is we started a program, it's called CRT, which is our crisis response team. That involves a police officer, a fireman who is a paramedic, and a caseworker, social caseworker. They actually ride together in a vehicle and take 911 calls that are related to mental health. And what that allows us to do is do on-site treatment and avoid the jail process or the hospital, and we can conduct those treatments in the home, get them back on their medication. And we went through that pilot, and now we're going to do that for the next full year because we've seen such progress. Because what we have in policing is when someone calls 911, that's a random call, but then we have certain people that call 911 for everything. In fact, we had them where they're calling 911 9 times a day. And so that's the focus of this group, is to reduce the dependency on 911 emergency services when we can divert them other places and tend to them where they're not calling. We also redeveloped our municipal court services, and there's 2 other initiatives underway. You may have heard that we're opening our own jail. That's correct. But we're also opening what we're calling the Sobering Center. It's another partnership with 12 and 12, because taking people, substance abuse and inebriation or public drunk or things of that nature, that we're seeing the same effects where the repeated going to jail. Now we have the opportunity to provide treatment and stop that cycle and get them into a facility that can provide the treatment. And then along with that is there's a Better Way program, that one of the mayor's current initiatives that we're also involved in. But now let's talk about the good stuff, because those are just a few highlights, but this is where our real passion lies. Because just like every businessman, you have to make a educated investment in our future, in your future, right? And so the best way for us to invest, for the police department to invest, is take a look again at our youth. By no fault of our own, we reduced the number of officers that we had in schools. In fact, for this entire city, we only have 2 school resource officers left. That's not enough. That's not enough. That means that we're not spending enough time with these children. That's where we talk about this investment. We have several initiatives going on. We have the Mayor's Police Community Coalition, which meets regularly, and I think just had a summit last week, but that's a forum in which police officers sit with students. We have a Tulsa Police Explorer program, if you didn't know about that, where we take juveniles in and they can learn about policing. But something that we tried last year, right on the heels of our own shooting here, and we titled it Project Trust. And we started at 2 schools. Well, informally at Central, and then formally we did it at McLean. And we felt that it was important to connect with the youth. And we went through this Project Trust not knowing what to expect because it was a pilot. And I'll be honest with you, the first day I walked into the classroom, I had students get up, either walk out or turn their backs on us, right? But I'll tell you, by the end of that 7 weeks that we worked with those students at McLean, the last time I walked into McLean, I had several of the students come up and put their arms around us and walk us down the halls. They weren't scared of what the other kids said. There wasn't this fear anymore. And we seen the benefit in that. In fact, it was so much so that they invited us to their graduation. They want us to hand them their diplomas. And that was an honor. And in fact, I still stay in touch with some of them today, because out of those, I do have 2 commitments that they're going to come work with us. And 5 of them are still in school right now, going through TCC. So we see the success in that. So we started it again this semester. We're back at 2 schools. We're at Memorial High School, and we're also at Edison, not Edison, Nathan Hale High School. So we go into those schools, and we're already seeing a difference there after just 3 weeks. So those are some of our commitments to this. And we also have the Reading Partner Program. Am I doing it on time? Okay. But that's just in the schools. So let's talk about where our real investment's going to happen. Okay? A little over about 18 months ago, we had this idea, right, about how we can be involved in more children on a daily level, because we've seen the benefits of having, sometimes maybe it's a father figure outside the classroom, maybe it's on the field, maybe it's in a classroom, maybe it's just sitting out on a park bench of these youth spending time with officers, getting to know them. So we already do a lot of things, right? We have bicycle programs, we do baseball, we do basketball, we have midnight basketball with youth, we even do rugby, soccer, we even had a fishing expedition. We're doing all these things, but they're not really promoted, organized. And this is all falls on the back of these fine men and women that we have out there on this police department. They were doing this on their own. It wasn't the chiefs or anybody else telling them to do it. They were doing it. So we take this idea and we like, okay, let's organize this. So a little over a year ago, we convinced the mayor the city was abandoning a park next to our Gilpin station, the old Amos T. Hall Park there. The city was just going to put it out to auction. And so we submitted a proposal for that. We said, hey, it's right next to our campus. Let us have that. We have some ideas. Let's bring the kids to us. Let's let them come here and hang out with police officers. And so you can see on the bottom a rendering of what's just a small portion of that would look like. We'd have a multi-purpose field and a multi-purpose facility, basketball court there where they could come and hang out. So the big problem with that is, okay, that's expensive. That costs a lot of money. But it's great that we have such collaboration in this city, because there's a lot of interest in our PAL program. We call it activities, not athletics, and I'll tell you why. If we just stick to the athletics, we'll miss a lot of kids. And what we found out is we missed a lot of young girls because they're doing other things, and there's a lot of kids left out. So this kind of follows in our partnership with Tulsa Police that no child will be left behind. We want to make sure we're involved in all these components in these kids' lives. So we're doing other things as well with the reading and that. So that's the future. But what about the future? So we have a unique opportunity ahead of us right now. Instead of waiting to build this and do all these programs, we have a possibility in front of our faces right now to do this. And we could have these kids, we could have leaders of the community and the police officers there working with these kids every day. Not just one day a week, not just on a weekend, but every day, because we're doing it now. We are allowed to come into the schools now after a little bit of work and showing that we can provide a curriculum. There's a facility that's not being used, the Helmsar facility. And what a great campus that is. I looked at it, and that could solve a lot of our issues. We could open that and get our PAL program going right away if we had a facility of this caliber. And so that's where partnerships and collaboration come in again, because we're looking to really invest in the future of this city, invest in the future of our children, because there will be a day that we all depend on them. So that's why I'm very excited about this PAL program. You hadn't heard a lot about it, but we're getting ready to do a lot of our advertising and promoting of what we're doing in terms of that. And that is our significant investment in the program. So I know I covered a lot, and I know I missed a lot, because it'd be impossible to sit here and talk about all those 77 recommendations or all the other initiatives that our police department's undertaking, because I could stay here for hours and talk about them. If you want to follow us, we have a dashboard. You can track our progress on those 77. It's right there. Go to cityoftulsa.org/dashboards. And you can look at all 77 of those, read them, and see what they're about. If you want to become involved in any one of them, let us know. Call us, because we're always looking to expand our collaboration. Our list grows every single day of the number of people we're working with to promote this community policing concept, because we all know that police department can't solve everything, and only together can we fix all these problems. So with that said, I wanted to save enough time, Hannibal, maybe take a couple questions if we have time, do we? And so let's just, sorry, we'll go right here first.
First of all, I'd like to make a comment. I absolutely love the Facebook page. I love hearing the sirens and being able to go there just within a few minutes. There's a quick report on what's going on. And then my question is, what are the plans for getting these children to these campuses that you speak of? Because, we have lots of areas in Tulsa, and most of these kids' transportation is the biggest problem they have. So has that been addressed yet on how we would get the kids to these places?
That is something that we were addressing in our plan, because we recognize that when I've met with a lot of different community leaders across the city from the north to the south, is if we only have one location, we're cutting someone out. And so getting there, transportation is important. So we're looking at Tulsa Public Schools. We're talking to the transportation there as well. And we're also looking at one of our collaborative partners being able to provide that transportation, such as several of the local church organizations that have vans already. And when we have the calendar of activities and events, and then when we post those and we say these are events going on, and then we can reach out to our partners and say, hey, look, we need help with that transportation. So we've already met with several churches, particularly around our Gilcrease division, that can get the youth that need to be in our program. They can get them there and help us do that pickup. But you're absolutely correct that transportation, just because we have a wonderful center, if we can't get them there, we're missing out. Yes, sir.
That third in Peoria building that you showed that you'd like to do something with, is that a remodel of that existing building, or do you have to tear that down and start from scratch?
No, that would be a remodel, because there's a lot of things, there's infrastructure within the building and outside the building that's already in place that would fall right in line with our program guide. There would be a little bit of remodel on our part to expand on some things we do, because a lot of different activities do involve athletics, like basketball. So being able to have basketball and maybe a multi-purpose outdoor area for soccer is becoming popular. In addition to football is just mainly the boys, but if we expand and have a multi-purpose field like soccer, and we can also do baseball and even rugby. But yes, there would be a little bit of investment on our part to, not to tear down, because that's not the intent, because that facility is very good as it stands. But there would be a little bit of investment on our part. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, so if you couldn't hear, she was asking a question about the burn grant, which was down at near Southern Hills community. There's 3 different neighborhood housing associations that we worked with down there when we were working on this burn grant, and it was for a total of 5 years. So we only have about 3 left on the grant. But that doesn't mean we're going to stop there. So one of our goals was, when we looked at 61st and Peoria, we knew we've been policing there for years. In fact, it was one of my first beats when I came on in 1998. Okay? We would put policemen in there, arrest a bunch for all the various crimes, but the minute you turn away, the crime returned. And we've done that for years. So we took a new approach on it, and I spoke a little bit on it, is we had to look at why the crime is occurring. We had to throw a little sociology in this program and look at why are there so many victims? Because that's what we had to quit looking at the suspects for a minute, and let's take a look at the victims. Because our goal is to reduce the victims and the victimization rate that's happening in that area, whether they fall prey to drugs or gang activity or anything. So that was our approach, and our approach was we're going to work with everybody. We established a neighborhood apartment managers coalition, so to speak, and meet with them on a regular basis. We work with the business partners. In addition to that, we work with the community members. Part of that grant was, though, the biggest part was that South Tulsa Community House. So we had a couple examples already of where we did some good work with Cornerstone at South Haven and up in Kendall Whittier. And so we wanted to model that and have a one-stop shop access for all the citizens that were falling victim to crime. And so in that South Tulsa Community House, through more collaboration, you'll love that word by the time I'm done today, we acquired an old bank at 58th and Peoria there. And we now have a structure that we could move into. And we moved in, and we partnered with St. John's, and we partnered with the Workforce Tulsa, Workforce Oklahoma. And we also partnered with TCC. Because the thing is when we looked at the victims and how they're being victimized, we knew we had to do some things. We had to get them help. We had to, whether it be simply help them get their GED or get advanced education and trade training to learn and be employed. And also provide health services there as well and keep them healthy, because health is an important part of our initiative there. So the goal is to reduce the number of victims and reduce the crime while collaborating with that community. And I think we have made with Officer Floyd out there, we have made a significant impact in our relations as well. Something that we, is a side benefit, because we're also seeing the decrease in everything else that I just spoke about. So, one more? One more.
How do the activities with these kids get in the way, if you will, of the gangs?
That's a great leading question. He tossed me a softball right at the end. So gangs. So if somebody's not there, because you have to look at that our children that we're missing out on, okay? When school's out, they have no other curriculum, nothing else. And oftentimes, and I see this every day, is they go home and they can't go home. You need to stay out. For whatever reason, we see it, right? We talk to the kids about it. And the reality is, if an adult's not going to take them in and train them, and when I say train, I mean just simply talking about code of conduct, how you greet somebody, how you act, why you don't take something that doesn't belong to you. If we're not doing that, and the parents aren't doing that, and nobody else is, then who do they turn to? They turn to the others on the street. Okay? Now everybody else, I'm not saying bad about everybody on the street and not trying to paint a brush over that, but there are some out there that want to do criminal activity, and they recruit. That's who we're fighting. So if we can get them in to a facility and we can give them some curriculum, because everything we do has a learning objective in it, even in sports, right? Everything we do, it teaches them how to be a contributing member of society, right? And how to be functional. And so if we get them and they don't, we won. We win. Because then we can turn them away from a life from crime. That's one less arrest. That's one less imprisonment. That's one less distraught mother. It's a win for us if we get them. So thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Brooks. A book recognizing today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, Celia Clinton, and the book is Hidden Figures. We have a couple of side mics, one from Rob Berry, Above and Beyond, and the other from John Raines with the Paul Harris Society presentation to Jack McGlumphy.
Well, this is great to be able to follow right after Assistant Chief. And Chief, thank you so much. Wanted to talk a little bit about Above and Beyond. Quick show of hands, who here has been to an Above and Beyond award ceremony? That's great. That's great. If you didn't raise your hand, you are really missing out, because these are really great programs. This year is our 11th year. It started in 2008, and this is our 11th year. We've been able to steadily increase the award that is given to the outstanding firefighter and outstanding police officer. This year it will be $2,500 for each. That's up from $2,000 last year. And as you can see, we have a wonderful police department. We also have an equally wonderful fire department. So it's always a joy to be able to honor the outstanding officers and firefighters that have gone above and beyond. We have something new this year, so you'll definitely want to be here. We have, as all of you will remember, George Hamilton. George was the chairman of the Above and Beyond Awards for many years, former FBI agent. He passed away this last year. We have a special award this year, which you'll have to come to find out what it is. But it's the George Hamilton Special Award. Lori Fulbright will be emceeing again. Now you ask, when is it? 4 weeks. 4 weeks from today. It'll be March 7th, so be sure and mark it on your calendars. It's not too late to give money. Make your donations to Above and Beyond. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Past President John.
Thank you, President-elect Hannibal. I'm here representing our District 6110. I'm a member of the Paul Harris Society team, and our mission this year is to make more Rotarians in the district aware of what Paul Harris Society is. So if you don't know what it is, that's why I'm here. But most of us in the room at some point know what Paul Harris Fellow is, and most of us are all Paul Harris Fellows. And the money that's raised for the Rotary Foundation, TRF, mostly comes through Paul Harris donations or Paul Harris Society donations. The TRF balance right now is, does anybody know roughly what it is? $1.2 billion. It is a massive foundation, but what I want you to also hear is, if you looked at any institute that evaluated nonprofits, Rotary is always in the top 2 or 3 best performing, most integrity, the money spent percentage, they're always ranked at the top. We know that if we give $1 to Rotary International, it's not just the dollar that is put to work, it's usually 2 or 3 because it's matched by philanthropy outside of Rotary. So today I want to make you aware of Paul Harris Society by honoring Jack McGlumphy. So Jack became a Paul Harris Society member at District Conference this past fall, and I'm here to present him with his certificate and also his Paul Harris Society chevron. Thank you, Jack. So real quick, the Rotary Foundation's causes, Rotary's primary causes, are 6 of them. You're going to hear a lot of things that we do in this club. It's promoting peace, fighting disease, providing clean water, serving mothers and children, supporting education, and local economies. We are blessed, blessed, blessed as a large club to not only have a foundation, but we do a lot of work in these avenues of cause. But TRF does it worldwide. So the monies that are raised for the TRF are dispersed back to 30,000 clubs worldwide, and millions of people are affected. So if you would like to become a Paul Harris Society member, I did it very simply. I decided several years ago I wanted to be every Rotarian every year. Anybody know what that is? Give $100 a year. So I set up a My Rotary account, gave $10 a month on my credit card, and said, okay, I did my part. And then I was pulled at heartstrings by somebody like myself that said, hey, why don't you be a Paul Harris Society member? You're a Paul Harris Fellow, just step up your giving. So I went on to My Rotary, changed it to $90 a month, and I'm a Paul Harris Society member. I don't even notice that. So Jack is the same way. It's a blessing to him, and he's blessing Rotary International. So please join us if you'd like to become a society member. There's several in the room that do $1,000 a year. So I'll be reaching out to you to really honor you, but I'd also like to see some other people step forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, President John. A couple of updates on upcoming programs. February 14th, we'll have an update on the OK Pop Museum. One of the most exciting developments planned for Tulsa is the new Oklahoma Museum of Popular Culture. It will be built in the Tulsa Arts District across from Cain's Ballroom. It's been a long journey, but ground will be broken this fall. So join us to hear an update on plans and an inside look with Jeff Moore, who's the new executive director of the OK Pop Museum. On February 21st, Taylor Hansen will talk about food on the move. Now I encourage you to go out, tell your Rotary story, and don't forget to bring a friend to our Rotary meeting next week. We are adjourned.